Hey guys, Vazzy back here, and in today's video, we are going to see what would happen if Connor Bedard played with his real-life cousin. So basically, this is kind of a follow-up to the previous video I put out with McDavid playing with his real-life brother. So we're going to put them both into NHL 24 and see what would happen. So if you guys were not already aware, Connor Bedard's real-life brother is Gavin McKenna. Gavin McKenna currently plays on the WHL's Medicine Hat Tigers team, and he is looking to be one of the next best prospects that is up and coming. I want to say he's in the 2026 NHL draft, and he's basically at this point the consensus #1 pick, which is crazy all these years out. He's supposed to be insane, he's supposed to be somewhat like his cousin in that regard too, so kind of want to put them together here. Obviously in game he's going to be a 15-year-old playing with an 18-year-old in the NHL, so let's throw them into NHL 24, throw them into franchise mode, and see what would happen. So just taking a quick look here at Gavin McKenna in NHL 24 before we jump into franchise mode. He actually already is created in-game, you guys probably already know that. It's not someone I had to create, obviously playmaker, left wing center. Everything else is basically how EA has created him. For the stats, I don't believe I touched too much. Obviously, I give him franchise potential with him being a consensus #1 pick, and it's just fun to see how those guys end up developing later on into franchise mode when the prospects, the AI generated ones, are normally not as good. So now let's throw all these guys into franchise mode and see what would happen. So obviously, we do have to have Gavin McKenna playing alongside Connor Bedard on the top line. Decided to throw Taylor Hall with them. Probably the next best option the Hawks have on forwards, so I don't mind having those three played together. Second line is Radish, Dickinson, Kurashev. Athanasiou, Johnson, and Beauvillier is the third line, and Anderson, Donato, and Foligno is the fourth line. Looking at the defensive side, we have Korchinski, Jones, Murphy, Vlasic, and Phillips and Zaitsev. Then obviously goalies, we have Mrazek and Soderblom backing him up. Looking at the power play, I do have McKenna and Bedard both playing together on both of the first line power plays. So basically we really are just giving them the best opportunity here to succeed in game. I'm very curious to see what will happen, but let's start the simulation and find out. So I do gotta say, I'm very curious to see what kind of an impact the Gavin McKenna is going to end up having playing on the Blackhawks here. Obviously, in the previous video that I did with Cameron McDavid and Connor McDavid, he actually had a very good simulation, putting up mid-50s points, I want to say, something like that. And the Oilers ended up having an insane season, and he was 65 overall as well. So he has the exact same rating here as Gavin McKenna going into franchise mode. Obviously, potential's a lot higher for Gavin McKenna here, as Cameron McDavid only had like AHL potential, where Gavin McKenna has franchise potential. So we'll see what would happen here in the simulation, as we're actually doing not too bad early on, sitting at 10, 8, and 5 now. And doing this experiment really actually got me thinking, in 3 years time, whatever it's going to be, is this something that we could actually see happen in the real NHL? The issue I see potentially happening is, obviously the Hawks are doing horrible this year. If they do end up getting Macklin Celebrini here through the 2024 NHL draft and land that #1 overall pick, I want to say that ends up disqualifying them for the next couple of years of getting that first overall pick. I'm not exactly sure how the rules work. You guys can definitely let me know down in the comments below. But I'm pretty sure there's something regarding that you can't win it all the time like the Oilers used to a couple of years back, obviously. So I wonder if this is something that maybe won't be able to happen in a few years. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I know they're changing the lottery rules basically every year, it seems like now. So, but yeah, I don't know. I guess that's a question for a little bit later on, a couple years down the road here, see what ends up happening with the Hawks. Going back to the simulation here, we're doing better than the real-life Blackhawks, but we're not doing great. Sitting at a little bit below 500 here, 26, 30, and 15. Actually have a lot of overtime and shootout losses, which is interesting to see here as we come toward the last 2-week stretch here of the season. See if we can pull it together, get a couple last wins. Doesn't appear so, as we finish with a record of 29, 37, and 16. Again, definitely better than the real life Blackhawks are likely going to do here this year, but not great overall. Take a look at the NHL standings here. The Nashville Predators, it appears, looks like won the President's Trophy, which is very interesting to see. Where do we sit here? So the Blues are last, and we are 27th, so that's definitely a lot better than the bottom 2 or 3 that the Blackhawks are likely going to end up finishing with this year. So see what Gavin McKenna did to the simulation here with Bedard. I see here Bedard only putting up 55 points. He did grow to an 89, which is good to see, minus 35. It's definitely a low scoring simulation for Bedard. Definitely seen him do a lot better. And I'm not seeing Gavin McKenna around here. There he is. Grew by 10, so he's a 75 overall now. 14 goals, 14 assists for 28 points, was a negative 37. He definitely grew a lot. Obviously, he's only 16 now, so 75 at 16 is pretty good overall. But yeah, it's definitely not a great season here compared to what Cameron McDavid did in our last simulation. Taking a quick look at the leading scorers around the lead. McDavid, Hughes, Hintz, Tavares, top of the list. Goalies, Billy Husso gets the most wins. Georgiev, Skinner right behind him. Interesting to see as always. So I am going to simulate to the end of the playoffs. Unfortunately, we're not in it. Take a look at the playoff tree, take a look at the awards, and then we'll wrap up the video. So after simulating to the end of the playoffs, the Florida Panthers did capture their first Stanley Cup in their history, sweeping the Nashville Predators. They also beat the Bruins in 6, the Hurricanes in 6, and the Rangers in 6. So that is a quick look at their road to their first Stanley Cup. Moving over to the awards here, obviously we know the team ones. Florida and Nashville sweeping those. David does get the Art Ross, he does get the Hart Trophy as well. Makar gets the Norris. Jeff Skinner gets the Lady Byng, interesting to see. Leo Carlsson does get the Calder. Was expected with Bedard and McKenna not having great seasons. But I guess, yeah, he did pretty good for himself. Georgiev gets the Vezina. Markstrom gets the Jennings. Giordano gets the Bill Masterson. Kopitar gets the Selke. McDavid gets the Ted Lindsay. And Austin Matthews gets the Maurice Rocket Richard Trophy. So yeah, again, definitely another very interesting experiment here in NHL 24. One last thing I did want to do here, let's simulate to the draft lottery itself. Let's see, we do not win the first overall pick here with Macklin Celebrini, so I do believe that does keep us in the running here of getting a Gavin McKenna a couple years down the road. But yeah, who knows, that's a 2026 question for sure. But I do think this is going to do it for the quick little simulation that we're doing here today. Definitely let me know if there's anyone else you want me to do this with in a future video. But until then, I'll see you all in the next one.